Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the new show powered by ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. All kinds of news, none of the noise. All the noise is actually presented here in ohmTown Daily News Show, the hourly show that's Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and on Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m., like today. And right after today's show, we'll have Reality Hacker Wanted and Warcrafters, 3 additional shows that are part of the ohmTown network of shows. Today is May 11th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 132. Today we're going to be talking about AI copyright and DeviantArt, recycling polyester into yarn, a 10-foot wide spite house, you were warned about mergers and acquisitions, hybrid sales are booming. Can tech help cities plan? Yes. The Northern Lights, hanging with Grogu, AI knows humans, and revolutionary AR headset from Stanford. That and more. Hello everybody, I am Mayor Watt, and all around me is the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to ohmTown Daily.
Oh, is that what this show is? Oh. I guess the intro was correct. We've set up all 10 of these articles, so why don't we just jump right on into it. The very first article is over in the Prime Glass channel, which talks about photography, equipment, technique, photos themselves, personalities in it, gadgets, etc. But the headline is DeviantArt and Midjourney deny wrongdoing in copyright infringement lawsuit over AI image generators. 2 of the image generation industry rejected copyright infringement claims from artists who allege their work was used to train an AI tool. The article is over at theartnewspaper.com. Tori Akers is the author. Let me grab that. Normally I go through these and plop them into the chat, but the latest thing that I've been doing is throwing them into the chat right at the beginning of the show. And while it seems like a little, I don't know, low production value, I can't throw all of them all at once. Otherwise, it's just a big block of text.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I have to copy them one by one into the chat. So you and I, we don't do anything pre-show. We basically just set up the show, start up our engines, and off to the races we go. Talk about the 10 articles for about an hour, and then we go on to the next the next show. So there you go. At the beginning of the VOD is all of the articles. If you watch the VOD later and they're not available, you'll have to wait until they're posted over on YouTube as show notes, because Twitch rewards me with deleting the 61st day of shows, which, let's say...
Come on, Twitch.
let's say is a Saturday. I lose 4 shows at the end of that. So everything, all over 1,000 episodes of ohmTown Daily... Well, ohmTown network of shows is hosted over there in various categories. So go over there. You can also download the podcast for all of the ohmTown shows. And there will eventually be 50 of them, but I'm looking for hosts and co-hosts to do these shows. If you are interested in that kind of thing, send an email to mayor@ohmtown.com. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. 2 giants of the image generation industry rejected copyright infringement claims from artists who allege that their work was used to train an AI tool. Yeah, I don't know. I can see why people are kind of bent out of shape about this. But I also see that there's no way that it's wholesale copying, and inspiration is spawned from everything else that we're interacting with. You cannot shake a stick at something. Even investigative journalism is built off of basically doggedly pursuing something, but it's information that is out there or is about to come out there, or If they're talking to somebody, that person has it and it comes out. Or when you are a painter, you're out there talking with people and looking at the world, and then you get inspiration from it and you put something down on paper or canvas or whatever. I don't know. Music is the same way.
Yeah, most art isn't directly from somebody's brain, right? It's
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 not
from
done
all
in a
kinds of
vacuum.
inputs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are a product of everything around us. And yes, it is unique to an embodiment is unique to an artist for that embodiment, but I guarantee you are not an island unto yourself where nobody else has ever used that technique or done similar artwork. It's just that the world doesn't know about it. There's billions of people on the planet that do similar art and are completely unheard of until somebody takes note. And then you have something. So it says artists originally sued DeviantArt, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion creator Stability AI in January 2023, but much of the case was thrown out by a U.S. District Senior Judge William Orrick last October, allowing only a single direct copyright claim to stand against Stability AI, which, ouch. Um, yeah, everybody else is like, I'm out. See ya. After the plaintiff
Right.
submitted an amended complaint, Judge Orrick made a tentative ruling on Tuesday, May 7th, announcing his intention to allow direct and induced infringement claims against the defendants to proceed, since the artists have plausibly claimed their copies of their work are stored in various versions of the tool. So there's a source here, like everything, right? Courthousenews.com, which you'll have to follow, and we will follow as well, to see what direct information went into this. So Andrew Gass, the lawyer for DeviantArt, argued in a hearing on May 8th for dismissal on grounds that Stable Diffusion only used the works to produce images for its DreamUp AI tool, not to train an AI model. Quote, there is no allegation that DeviantArt itself ever extracted from the model any output that is a copyright infringement of the plaintiff's works. There is no allegation that any of DeviantArt users have ever extracted any output from DeviantArt's implementation of the model, Gass said, going on to describe DeviantArt's action as classic fair use.
Okay, but I guess the question is, are they stored or are they not? Like, that seems pretty straightforward.
So here's my problem with the argument of storage. It's a bunch of data. It's not being used for anything directly as a source of its profitability. Training is inspiration and just knowledge. It's bits. It's just a bunch of data. Nobody sees it. It's just an algorithm. There's nothing directly reproducible from it. Again, if it spits out clones, then yeah, I understand it. But Laura Matson, a lawyer for the artist, argued that the images were still reproducible, claiming that it was inappropriate to discuss fair use at the dismissal stage. But are they reproducible because they are just laying there and the system has the ability to directly copy them out and then show them? Or is it reproducible in the sense that I can try and sing happy birthday, but it's not going to be like a major musician, right? I'm not gonna sound like, Barbara Streisand or whatever. I just think that it's surreal to sit there and now if what is being presented to people through Midjourney are clones or unreasonably similar, then yeah, I would cheerlead that there is a violation of rights here.
But that's the big problem here. We don't know what they're taking, what they're using, how they're using it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and all of this is the black box of the algorithm of AI. Just like later on, we end up talking about hallucination. in another of the shows. And in Reality Hacker, we'll end up talking about hallucination, and that there's now software that can detect the hallucination. But when you need an AI to troubleshoot the AI, you kind of have a problem. We don't know, because of the complexity of AI art generation, just what element is taken from what, and I don't even think it exists in the same sense. Just like an artist taking all of their experience and merging it into an art piece, they would not be able to definitively say, this is where I got this. They could sit there and say, yeah, I got some inspiration from this and that, but that's akin to this is the embodiment of all of my worldly experience. It's why I became an artist. Yeah, and I've been on both sides of the technology spectrum, because I started out as an artist where I was freehanding everything and painting and drawing, and that was my passion. And then I got into technology and deviated away from using, normal terrestrial technique and crayons and whatever else, right? And I switched to digital. And now I want to use technology to create more faster, and how I want it. And one of those ways is through tools like Midjourney.
Well timed with all the uproar about the Apple advertisement.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they apologized for that. Um, the context of that, though, I mean, I understand why people are bent out of shape about it. And so, really, the best thing that they could be doing is apologizing and maybe donating some money to a good cause to replace
Right, to promote hard, like real world art.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's inspiration for digital art. And, you find your digital art muse in the real world, and then it's put into the embodiment of a digital instrument. The iPad is a spectacular tool for that. Multiple tracks, high resolution, even the audio is high resolution. So you can sit there and manipulate all of this stuff on a simple little pad. I thought that it was a brilliant commercial that was showing how you can smush all of that stuff into this little iPad. They probably should have simulated that and not used real instruments.
Right.
And they definitely had the bandwidth to do that. So donate those instruments to high schools or grade schools, and donate some more money to support the arts, because those real world arts gets translated into the tech. So, and honestly, all of this, I don't think any of this really, Midjourney and other AI generation tools, I don't think it's really diminishing. The only thing that it's doing is it's putting downward pressure on those who have created in the standard old school way, which is hours of time in grade. And I agree, it's a lot of hard work, but all of the technique, all of the tools, everything that exists has only gotten better and better and better and better. And today's generation is benefiting from the massive amount of evolution of various musical arts or arts. And so this is just the latest tool, and I think it should be treated as such. And people will always appreciate the old school arts as opposed to digital art, because you can't. That's not true. I can reproduce brush strokes with a printer, but that it isn't going to be the same, because it isn't going to be, it isn't going to be paint. It's going to be
right. It's going to have different appearance, different texture.
Yeah, authenticity is the provenance of it is that now it's technology. It's not the actual artist. It isn't the brush strokes of the artist. It's the computer. It's the technology, and it can never be represented as oil on canvas, that kind of a thing. It's going to be some facsimile thereof. Anyway, this is a huge discussion that we can end up going down. So let's just stick a pin in this, and we'll end up coming back to this because it is a whole thing that's part of another area in ohmTown called Right Protect. That's all about IP, intellectual property rights, copyright, trademark, patents, etc. Where I have some experience in all of those and have been both the victim and the benefactor of IP rights. So I'll even tell you, I once pitched a service to somebody and they said, great idea, and they ran with it. Right. Well,
yeah.
Yeah, it's as easy as that. You can't really protect the idea. You can't protect the technique. If somebody comes up, reverse engineers your technique, guess what? There isn't anything there, right? The only reason why nobody did it sooner is because they didn't care to. Well, now they do. Yeah. And then you protect it with stuff, but you better have money. Anyway, let's keep going. I mean, I talk forever about this stuff. So the next article is over on Technology Today, a world first, which I can't believe is a world first. I thought we talked about this before, but I pulled this in because when it was submitted, I said, this can't be the first time, because I've seen people reproduce polyester. But the article's over in Technology Today, a world first. Project recycles polyester into yarn for new clothes. A venture that uses methods applied to plastic bottles for old textiles aims to tackle the UK's mountain of unwanted garments. Football shirts, sports event banners, uniforms are piled up and ready to be pumped into a machine which melts them down for recycling, ready to be made into new clothes. In a world first at Kettering, Northamptonshire, Project Reclaim is taking technology used for recycling plastic bottles and adapting it to reprocess polyester textiles into granules that can be turned back into yarn. And I'm telling you, I've seen this already. And I want to say,
I feel like we have, but I don't know where.
Hold on. I'm doing this live, folks, like always. So maybe they didn't start from nothing. So Nile Red actually creates nylon. So maybe it's not quite the exact same thing, but that was the first thing that popped into my head. So the joint venture between the Salvation Army and recycling specialist Project Plan B uses items from the charity's sorting center, which separates out 10 to 20% of donated items that cannot be resold according to type of textile. The article is over at theguardian.com by Sarah Butler, and it shows basically a sorting line in the little thumbnail. Not little. So they expect to recycle 2,500 tons of waste this year and to double that in 2025. It's working with big retailers, including Tesco and John Lewis. Again, this is all in the UK. And as well as a specialist manufacturer for like school uniform, David Luke, which encourage suppliers to use recycled polyester.
Is it just me, or are some of the company names unusual? Like, you don't see a lot of people name businesses in the US.
I don't know. It just may not be on our radar. Yeah, it's interesting, right? David Luke is a company name. John Lewis as a company name. Interesting. So in the UK, about half of the 1.45 million tons of used textiles generated annually ends up in the household bin and is mostly incinerated, according to a report by the government recycling body RAP. A further 650,000 tons is sent out for reuse or recycling, but most of that goes into making products such as fillings for mattresses or door or car doors. So kind of like a felt-like product, I'd say. Um,
Okay.
so 20%, just 20% of used textiles is sold for clothing. It's usually because they have to purify it in a very complex, dirty way. More than 420,000 tons of unwanted items are sent overseas, where they can end their days in unregulated landfill or strewn across beaches of Ghana and the dunes of Atacama Desert in Chile, which we actually talked about. Somebody set that on fire after discussions about it publicly, and it has been incinerated apparently. I can't imagine it was effectively incinerated. It would insulate itself, but
No, I agree. I mean, it certainly drew a lot of attention to it.
yeah. Um, so it says Marks and Spencer kicked off a new initiative with Oxfam, under which it is asking for donations of unwearable items for reprocessing. It plans for at least some of the items to be recycled into new textiles and others to be upcycled, but full details have not been confirmed. We've actually seen similar things with jeans, for instance,
Yes,
being
exactly. Like they were using materials and I think making jeans with them.
remaking jeans with them. Yeah, shredding them and then remaking jeans with them, which was an interesting thing because they were basically shredding it all up and then turning it back into yarn and then re-spinning it as jeans. It was pretty wild.
Right.
Um, so today, many high-tech options are springing up around the world. Forestry group Sodra in Sweden turns a mix of used cotton and wood pulp into fiber. Recover in Spain recycles used cotton fibers into yarn and has recently expanded with a new facility in Bangladesh, while German chemical maker BASF has teamed up with Zara owner Inditex to trial recycling nylon. So maybe it's specific to the nylon that I've seen, but I can't get over it. I'm going to do some due diligence and maybe next week or sometime during the week in the daily news show, we'll talk about it. But coming full circle in Yorkshire, the wool recycling firm, yeah, really? Inuo? It's never over until it's over is the full name of it.
Okay, I like the name, but the
The acronym
or
is hard.
excuse me, what it means, but the acronym is a little challenging.
Yep. It began using traditional equipment once used to make shoddy, to recycle, used to make shoddy.
I
Is that
think
missing
that's
something or is that
a UK specific thing because I don't let me look that
idiomatic?
up.
Yeah. To recycle luxury woolen yarns in 2019. That's really hilarious, right? It must be equipment that was made to like shred or something like that.
It's some sort of textile
Like not high quality.
recycled wool blankets from shoddy to splendid. I don't know. I don't even know if that's the same thing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so what's really interesting though, if it is shoddy, which is like I understand the context of the word shoddy, but not necessarily in this sentence. So they're basically taking something of lower quality, but because they do something with it, it's suddenly recycled luxury woolen yarn.
Right. It's actually cloth made from recycled wool, apparently. It took me a while to hone
Gotcha.
in on it.
And this just reminds me of the time where lobster used to be given to the poor because it was thought of as this poor product. And now it's this upper class because somebody else said, ooh, you should put some butter on it. Yeah.
Right.
So they end up talking more about this. It's Renewcell in Sweden, the world's first commercial scale recycling plant that turns textiles into pulp ready for thread, hangs in the balance. I think that is one of the companies that we talked about a couple of years ago when we first started doing ohmTown Daily News Show publicly. The company called in administrators in February after being undercut by a fall in the price of virgin viscose, I guess. Administrators are considering 2 or 3 bids for the company and are hopeful of securing a deal as a going concern. So why did it fall? Right?
Well, exactly. I mean, I feel like these are these things that are really good ideas, but then anybody that needs to operate with it isn't quite adjusted yet to the new reality. And so it's like, there's so many pieces in the supply chain that I don't always think everybody else is lined up ready to shift gears.
So, but think about it. If the producers of wool or cotton or whatever are constraining the supply so that the price can be kept high, like OPEC does, or OPEC Plus now does with oil, why couldn't they suddenly flood the market, lowering the price so the renewable is more expensive beyond like anything? And so to acquire the other product, you'd have to spend more than what you'd be making on the other side. The margin would shrink to the point where it's inverted, and you have to close because your runway is shortening with every quarter. I mean, I can imagine that this is what's happening, but it says challenges vary from dealing with contamination such as human hair, which can tint the granules, making them less easy to dye to any color, to the additional costs involved in shipping the granules back to yarn spinners, which are usually based in Asia or in the nearest Turkey. So they're developing the market. And boy, howdy, is it going to be hard, because we'd rather the suppliers are the real problem, because they can jack up the prices and constrain the supply so that there isn't enough to get recycled on the other side, and they'd still be making bank because the suppliers are constraining. And that's why I think the producer price index is the real problem. And there's people that are before that. So those people are the ones that are, when the PPI continues to go up and down and the CPI keeps going up. What's going on here? Okay, right. Let's keep going though. I'm spending way too much on my soapboxes. I'm doing like soapbox parkour, just jumping higher and higher. And at the end of this, I'm going to be so high, it's not even going to be steps either. They're all going to fall away as I jump. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. A 10-foot wide house built out of spite on a leftover piece of land in Florida is selling for $619,000. And we can thank Business Insider for pictures, I'm sure. I love doing the quick look at a Business Insider article. A 10-foot wide a 10-foot wide house in Jacksonville Beach, Florida is on the market for $619,000. Pretty wild.
It is. I have to admit, this one I did peek at.
Oh my God. Jordan Pandy over at Business Insider put the article together. Okay, y'all. You have to look.
This is an awesome house. I mean, it really is. It just looks cute.
So how deep is it, though? Is it like 60 feet deep? Let's find out.
I don't know.
They just say it's 10 feet wide, which is probably not enough to get... I don't think you could park your Cybertruck in there.
Probably not. You probably have to have like a Fiat or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow. It's actually pretty big. I wasn't expecting that. It's 10 feet wide, but it's 1,547 square feet. Sits on a 25-foot wide lot and even has space for a garage, although you probably have to put a smaller car in it because that's only half the size. Like a standard garage door is 20 feet wide. So the house is 10 feet wide, which means that the garage door is about maybe 8 feet.
Oh, it has to be less than that, right?
Yeah. You might have 8 feet there because that looks bigger than a foot. So that's probably only 6 feet wide or 7 feet wide. That's pretty wild.
And look at your spacious, I think, walkway along the side of the house.
The side, yeah. Wow. So $619,000. 2-story house sits on a 25-foot wide lot with a lot of depth and even has a space for a garage. The listing is Ryan Weatherford of Oceanside Real Estate, and builder John Atkins regularly build on these leftover lots and anticipated having a little more space for a home. What you can do on these smaller lots is you can go in front of a board of adjustment and they'll allow you to build more than a building code is allowed because, well, you need to do something with this little lot. Otherwise, it's abandoned. If the neighborhood has its way, there wouldn't be a house there at all. The neighborhood attended the public hearing voicing concerns, mainly from a next door neighbor who used the untouched lot as a garden and persuaded the board to disallow any adjustments. Wow. Not in my backyard.
Exactly.
It's the neighborhood NIMBY. So they were stuck building a 10-foot wide home instead of a 15-foot wide home, but they still managed to attract buyers. Look at that. And it's taller than the rest of the houses in the area, it seems. At least based on the perspective that we're seeing.
Right.
Okay,
I'm glad they have an overhead view.
Yeah, it actually looks like a 40-foot container kind of thing.
Yeah, it actually does, and I bet it has similar dimensions.
But extra tall. It's like twice as tall because they're typically about 10 feet tall. So the lots were all 25 feet wide, according to Weatherford, but eventually some owners started to combine lots together, leaving some uneven spacing. So you end up with that. And, you know, if you poo-poo it, because you're a neighbor who's a greedy bastard who knows that if they can sway the assemblage of people, then you'll be able to use it still as a garden. I mean, it's all about the fact that they didn't want to give up their garden when they have a big ass house next to it.
Exactly. Well, and I think somebody was bent out of shape because they were using this other lot that wasn't theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Or garden.
Yeah. So Weatherford and John Atkins have built narrow homes on these leftover lots before and usually get some grace, but nope, not this time. Look at this thing. So it's a really long garage. You could put 2 cars in it, probably really deep though. I don't know. It's pretty modern. I really actually like it. This would be great. Yeah, won't get into the specifics of like they talk pretty deeply about like building code and stuff like that, and why it was built the way that it was, but it doesn't really matter. The lot's 140 feet deep and 25 feet wide, deeper than some of the typical lots in that neighborhood because people, when they bought,
because all the splitting and combining.
They have bump outs where the footprint is narrower below the bump out. So when you actually look at the house from up above, you can actually see the little bump outs, which are typical in, see how it just pops out right there? It's not actually.
I see, but that probably because it doesn't touch the ground. That's actually pretty clever.
It doesn't count. Yeah.
To maximize the space inside the house and still be compliant with building codes.
Yep.
Interesting.
Kind of cheaty, but okay. Yeah, I'll give it that. And you know what? Normally, I would sit there and go, no, you got to follow the rules, not just the spirit of the rule, not just the rules, but the spirit of the rules, right? But because the neighbor was such a D-bag about it, then yeah, you know what? I'm glad that they did that. You know, just thumb your nose right at them.
Well, I'm glad that they built the house all together, but yes, I agree.
The builder's son built a dining table that was made from boards from the pier that was destroyed by Hurricane Matthew. So recycle, upcycle, reuse. And when they finished the house in 2024, it was listed for $619,000.
It's actually way more spacious than you would expect, and it does look very nice and modern.
I think it's pretty. Yeah. This is the tiny home that I would really like, if not for me having to deal with the neighbors who will just never get over the fact.
Exactly. Like, do you really want to live next to people like that for your entire existence? Probably
right. Not. No. So yeah, it all just looks really spacious, but you know what? I have to keep going. We gotta go on to the next article. I'm sorry. Even the master suite is, or I should say the primary bedroom, is pretty amazing. I mean, it is amazing. It has larger than life ceilings.
You see a lot of houses that have way smaller primary bedrooms.
Yep, plenty of windows. It has a sliding glass door that opens out onto a balcony, a very narrow balcony, but it looks like it's on the front of the house where the road is, which means that I would look. I can hear a mouse fart in another house 3 houses away, and this I would never be able to sleep. I'd have to put cement in my ears each night just to sleep. That would be
I
insane.
was thinking you could maybe dive into the neighbor's pool from this house because when we saw the, I think
The
it was the
overhead.
overhead view. I don't know if it's from that side of the house.
Let's see, because this is the backyard. I would rather have the primary
Yeah.
bedroom in the backyard, but that's where the living room is. Um, let's go. Where is it? There it is. Yeah.
Right? Like,
So,
couldn't you just like jump off your roof or something right into the
oh,
pool?
off the roof. Wow, they should have done that. Can you imagine having a rooftop deck on this? That would have been the icing on the cake and really pissed off the neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Take that, neighbors. Okay, let's keep going. The next article's over in ohmTown Daily. Activision. Microsoft shutters several Bethesda developers post acquisition, same as it did in Activision acquisition. By the way, Mayor Watt, pat. Mergers and acquisitions are always a destructive force. They do not benefit anybody, including the employees, including long-term stakeholders who really should have demanded that they stay. You either buy the materials, right, and let them keep on going, give them the assets they need to keep on growing, or you stay the hell away from them. Why? What this ended up doing, and it's exactly what I said it was going to do, it was going to kill competition. Because it was everybody involved with this were ongoing concerns in their own right, but somebody didn't want to be around anymore. And instead of selling it to another party, an antitrust oversight saying you have to sell it to somebody
Right.
else at fair market value, they sold it to Microsoft and out go jobs. So here we go again. Back in February, the FTC wanted to dive back into the battle with Microsoft over its acquisition of Activision Blizzard due to Microsoft announcing thousands of jobs worth of layoffs, including many developers from Activision Blizzard. When the FTC had asked for an injunction to block the sale, Microsoft made 2 claims. First, it indicated that the injunction wasn't needed as it was a horizontal acquisition, not a vertical one, meaning that it wasn't going to reduce staff after the purchase due to redundancies in the workforce. Second, it indicated that the injunction wasn't necessary for another reason. We'll find out here on the other side of this transition. Timothy Geiner over at techdirt.com put the article together, and they wrote it from the Liar department. So I'm sure that
Okay.
that department is extremely busy. So the second claim was that it wasn't necessary due to the hands-off approach Microsoft would take at these studios, meaning that it could easily divest them from these developers if ordered to, rather than having to shut them down entirely. But it's hard to claw back money. So how are you going to divest them? You would have to sit there and take a hit on the hit that you take. Why? Because
Right.
if you sell them, you're not going to sell them at a profit. There's no way in hell. Because why? You acquired them and now you're divesting yourself of them. So rather than having to shut them down entirely. So what do? They shut them down entirely. And in the same week, they say we need more games like Hi-Fi Rush. And it's one of
Exactly.
the
Which is
studios.
really just, come on.
Yeah. I mean, this is bad actor all around. This was to remove competition from the entire field of competitors, and now to reconstitute, they would have to find enough developers that want to work together and find funding for it. And not everybody can sit there and do that when Microsoft can just say to somebody, well, we'll pay you $75,000 more to come work for us. So,
Right.
and that's what I think that this was all about. It was to eliminate competition while gaining all of these assets, because they shut it down, but they didn't divest themselves of the IP. So nobody can take it and go.
Exactly. I mean, this is just So many shenanigans, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's my problem with this. I don't think, except in the rarest of cases, I don't think that mergers and acquisitions should be allowed. You started your business to be a competitive force in the market. And if you're going to merge or be acquired, then there should be enough competition in there, or in the space, that something like this should not be necessary. If you get acquired, it's because the larger organization wants to be bigger. But you can't force people to work, right? So when the
Exactly.
principals of the acquired company don't want to do it anymore, and they have friends or industry competitors that they're not really, spiteful of, like, I would say, well, I shouldn't say that out loud. But they basically went to Microsoft and said, hey, we want to bow out. So our fiduciary duty is to maximize profit for our stakeholders, and we think that we're going to just shut down. So let's sell.
I don't, at what point does this end? Like, it just seems like we have so much of this. We can all foresee this coming with all these very large companies to begin with,
Yep.
getting into further acquisitions and mergers.
It's
And of course, who's losing? People that might just want to play the games.
Yep, and that's exactly what's happening. So, and to harken back to the earlier claim Microsoft made to combat the injunction the FTC wanted, some are questioning why these studios had to be closed to begin with. It's a fair question. They ask Pilestead, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. I don't understand the closure of Tango Gameworks. I mean, why close instead of divest? Surely the team would easily have been able to find a new home. Exactly. The answer is because in many cases, Microsoft is interested in those things and is simply going to fold them into other parts of its gaming infrastructure. So it was an acquisition. It wasn't a merger. It was they were taking the asset. And because if there was an acquisition of the assets, those people would actually probably have the ability to take their stock holdings and cash out, versus they're now
Right.
part of Microsoft. So, but I don't know that part of it because I'm not in that industry. That particular industry might have different maneuverings. So, and before anyone wants to chime in that there are broader economic forces at work that are causing Microsoft to trim any supposed fat, that's certainly not represented in Microsoft's overall numbers. Correct. With 21.9 billion in profits, up 20%, and earnings of $2.94 per share, beating Wall Street's expectations across the board for the third quarter. Of course, there's no freaking competition in the space, except indie developers that don't have the reach.
Right.
Yeah. So they got rid of people. They got rid of a financial burden, but they concentrated wealth and maximized profits on top of it.
Right. Everybody's happy, right?
Of course, the stock is going to do good. The perception of the company by investors who are soulless, they don't care about the market. They don't care about the consumer as long as there is money to be had. So they need to change the name from the Got Mine Screw You department. That's where they need to change it to. Okay, I gotta go. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Hybrid sales are booming. Here's why drivers are buying them over EVs. Again, we've been talking about hybrids, and this isn't like, bias here in terms of what I'm selecting. This is actually a trend that we here in ohmTown had seen coming, because EVs are basically a poison pill. They came out of the gate hot, marketed like crazy. A bunch of fanboys and, well, fan people decided that they were going to
You
follow.
had it right the first time.
Yeah. And hyped it all up, and now you hear about the fact that people are like, well, there's no charging stations and I can only go 35 miles before I have to park it and wait for 2
Oh my
hours.
gosh, I have to do car wash mode or I'm gonna be locked in my car. And oh, I can't really resell my car because my battery's going defunct. And
Yeah. 2 in the last week, 2 Cybertrucks now I've seen. One was in a ditch and one was parked on the side of the road during a rainstorm. Both of them dead. And they're not going to get the thing out of the ditch because it's so damn heavy. It can't even pull itself out of the ditch.
well, that's interesting because we've talked about the weight and like the problem with stopping power and accidents and all that, but I don't think anybody's really thought about like maintenance, like trying to get a tow or anything like that.
Oh yeah, you're going to have to get a super wrecker, and I don't know where they're going to hook that thing on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. On something like a Cybertruck, forget it.
Yeah, it's going to be
It's going to have to
fascinating.
become like one of those, it'll become like a reclaimed area, right? They can plant, I don't know, wildflowers or something in there. Does that make sense?
They just put corn around it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's the Cybertruck of the corn. If we plant it, Elon Musk will show up. So hybrid sales are booming in the US. Once dismissed as a phase, many drivers are now choosing them over EVs, except that when they're sub $75,000, they're kind of gutless. That's the big problem with these hybrid vehicles. One Toyota exec told Business Insider, which is the source for this, there are no compromises to buying a hybrid anymore. So hybrids are having a moment. Why? You don't have to worry about, and there's the phase, by the way. Let me just finish this snippet. Sales of partially battery-powered vehicles, once ridiculed as a quote-unquote phase by the likes of Elon Musk. Again, it was Elon Musk and his bullshit marketing, all of the fake it till you make it, and then because it was the only thing out there, it was made. Now, it's all a huge mistake because the charging systems don't exist. He just got rid of his supercharging department and he could reconstitute it, but maybe not. Anyway, they're increasing even as EVs stutter, with hybrid sales growing by 50% in the first 2 months of the year, while EVs have grown 13% at that time. And Tesla's taking a larger hit. So Tom Carter over at Business Insider put the article together, and sorry for scrolling back and forth, but they show Toyota vehicles, 2 hybrid Toyotas. One Toyota exec told Business Insider that there's no compromises to buying a hybrid anymore, and that's because you don't have to worry about charging as much. You don't have to worry about range anxiety. You don't have to put it in a special mode to go through a car wash. It's all self-contained. You fill it up and it charges its battery, and you drive it around, and when you take off, it's electric powered, and then when you hit a cruising speed, it can switch to gas, or the other way around, depending on how it's actually built out. Some of them, the gas part charges the battery for the electric wheels to be turned. So other auto companies are following Toyota's lead, with GM pledging to sell hybrids again in North America, and Ford delaying its electric SUV to focus on its own hybrid lineup. One of the problems was that the US government had basically mandated that people switch from ICE to full EV, and they would build an EV and it still wouldn't meet its requirements, so they would build this kind of like throw in a hybrid. And then the market kind of got, you know what? I'm really tired of having to sit around for 2 hours and watch my car charge. An EV.
Right. I mean, it's like nobody ever factored in probably the most important part of an EV, right? The driver.
Yep. So Nick O'Brien, who teaches auto tech at Jefferson Community College in Kentucky, took delivery of a hybrid 2024 Ford Maverick in February and told Business Insider he was more than happy with this purchase. So I may end up getting a Ford Maverick because I've been looking for a hybrid. I want to move away from ICE entirely, but I also want to be able to drive you can get 500 miles off of a hybrid with this tiny tank of gas, because it hops back and forth between electric and gas, or it's all electric. It just keeps on charging the battery. So they say, I love it. It's very quiet, very smooth, and more than double the fuel economy of my previous vehicle. That right there is it's the interstitial step between ICE and full EV. But we don't have the physics for full EV. We don't have the infrastructure. We need fast swap batteries. One of the most contentious...
need super tankers to tow.
Yeah, really. Yeah, we need an M1 Abrams battle tank to pull one out of a ditch.
Oh my gosh, I just figured out what we needed for that. Yes. One of those vehicles we saw recently on the news.
Oh, yeah. Or just drive over it. One of the two. You either use it to pull it out of the ditch, or you just drive over it. There, we're recycling the metal. So I think what needs to take place is the fast swap batteries and better battery physics. That's the chemistry over there. And so one of the most contentious comments, or I should say shorts, that I have is right now over in ohmTown on YouTube, the short there. It's my latest one that was posted there, and it started out as having a ton of negative reviews, and actually after a comment that I made that this really should be open for discussion and not just vitriol and not just blind hatred and downvoting, I would like to know the rationale for people downvoting a video that's promoting discussion when the discussion is manifesting right now. We're seeing a complete quantum shift from full EVs, because people want it to be mainstream, but they can't get there, to hybrids, which is the thing that I've been promoting all along.
But isn't it possible that the people downvoting, number one, are trying to be controversial, but number two, have some tie to one side of it or the other, right?
Sure.
Like they're employed by some company in the EV space or the other side. Anyway.
Yeah, or they're bots or something like that too. I mean, because when you poo-poo something, there are a lot of tech savvy people that build bots that like shit on whatever perspective you have, and they have clone accounts and blah blah blah. Because I've actually seen at least 7 downvotes disappear overnight. So that might have been YouTube's counter bot removing kind of BS downvotes. So buyers who paid $42,500 for hybrids in November 2023 on average, compared with $60,500 for electric vehicles and $47,500 for gas cars. So why is that?
Well,
you would think that a hybrid vehicle that has a partial gas, partial electric system would be more expensive because it has both of them.
Correct. It should be, wouldn't it be priced in between the two types?
You would think that, but the battery is dramatically smaller for hybrids.
Oh, okay. So then that reduces the cost to manufacture it.
Yep. The overall system,
or the materials, etc.
Yep. Costs less. It's a lighter vehicle as well. But you still have to pull over and get gas. But I can fill up my tank in 5 minutes and get out. Hell, I can put a 20-gallon jerry can in the back of my hybrid and drive around the world twice. You know,
I didn't actually realize that hybrids were the cheapest of the three. I mean, maybe I've missed that. I know we've been talking about high pricing just across the board.
Yep. So a lot of hybrid vehicles now are not far off from their internal combustion engine alternatives. So they think that a lot of lower incremental costs associated with hybrids at this point are driving some interest toward hybrid versus fully electric vehicles. And soaring gas prices are driving people to want to be right in between, because the higher cost for an electric vehicle doesn't offset the $4 or so, unless you're in California where it's $7 in one place for gas. Yeah. I think that, and then they talk about charging hurdles, and And the infrastructure burden is just tremendous. Having to run all of these high power lines everywhere just so that you can get something that plugs in, like a, I don't know. It's so goofy to be stuck by an umbilical to a wall. Um, you don't even people complain about their phone not having enough battery life, for crying out loud, and you have to plug it in. Why not complain and bitch and gripe and moan about EVs being plugged into the wall at home? It doesn't, you're
Right.
still at home. You're still plugged into some stupid outlet somewhere. So yeah, I get a little energetic about this, but okay, we got to keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Can tech help cities plan for disaster? 7 ideas from an urban resilience hackathon. Let's just go straight on over to GeekWire. Chuck Wolf at geekwire.com put the article together. And these urban resilience hackathon type of things, these are brilliant because it actually is kind of grassroots. It says, for a day, the event showcased collaborative problem solving and innovative thinking in addressing urban challenges. The hackathon brought together volunteer organizations, state and local government, students, and researchers to co-develop testable resilience pilot projects that could help Seattle be more prepared for future disruptions. By the way, this is a very focused website in and of itself. GeekWire is like Seattle area, as far as I understand it. They talk about Democracy Lab, Tech for Good nonprofit, help facilitate the hackathon. And then they go into the various other things: Urban Innovation Lab, Shoreline Street, End Water Highway, resilient community-based food systems, pressurized energy water storage for multifamily buildings, which is an interesting thing because you can't have water unless it's pressurized. Just
Oh,
because,
right.
yeah. Otherwise, it'll just stand in the pipe. Planning resilience hubs for a catastrophic earthquake so that there are pockets of action, so that it's not limited to just a FEMA statewide response. You have already in place resources that facilitate recovery in a faster way. Planning communications for disasters, which is basically what FEMA does, but you might as well make hyperlocal as well, work in conjunction with federal, local, state. And capturing solar for life essential machines, which is always a brilliant thing, except that solar is very, very inefficient. And then they talk about moving forward, which is additional hackathons. And they have seemingly a great dynamic here, so maybe they can keep it going. But this is what keeps this going is marketing, money, and energy. Did you find something in there?
Yeah. No, I think this is really cool, and I hope we see more events like this, but then also more coverage of this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like this kind of stuff. Okay, let's keep going though. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Views of northern lights from around the U.S. Phones and cameras were obviously in hand, hoping to catch a photo of a night that many Americans may never forget. Thankfully, a lot of people also shared those photos with family, friends, social media, and some local news stations. So they took some pictures and they posted them over at thehill.com. Let me back up real quick. Nick Jackham, I think their name is, posted the article over at thehill.com. And so here are some pictures basically showing the aurora. It's a purple. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, we're going to see cool photos, but number two, we're going to see places that perhaps have never seen the Northern Lights before or not anytime recently.
Yeah, because it's supposed to fall like down into half of the states.
One of them said Georgia, I think, that you
Oh
went
wow!
by,
Oh, that'll be
which is
amazing.
very far south. I
Bird.
thought I saw Georgia, but maybe not.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Gwinnett County, Georgia, and it's purple, streaming beams of light. Ah, man, this is just amazing. Yeah, unfortunately, above ohmTown, it was stormy, and so there were no lights. But this is up in New York. They show a picture of what you would normally see up in Alaska.
Right. I mean, that looks like a standard tourism photo of
Yeah.
Alaska or like
Uh,
Norway or somewhere in that region.
yep, exactly. Yep. I would love to go there to see it. That
That
just
was
looks
pretty far,
fake.
Tennessee. I think that last one, but
Yeah.
it may not have been the coolest one visually, but
I don't know, seeing half the skyline purple and the other
well,
half
that's true.
standard. And it seems
Exactly.
like it's pretty bright out. So like
Yeah.
I know that it's a low light photo. But like when you have a neighbor with their garage door floodlight
Oh,
on,
right. Exactly. And it still looks like that.
yeah,
Maybe they could have turned the light off for that.
yeah, really. Hey, everybody, turn your lights off. Light pollution is the bane of enjoying this.
Oh, I
So
bet that looked cool if that was over the water.
yeah,
I
that's
wonder
pretty
if
cool.
anybody got neat photos like of the
Like,
reflections or
oh
anything.
yeah, that would be amazing, huh? That would be pretty cool. Another from Savannah, Georgia. So yeah, I hope y'all get out there and get to enjoy this. Okay, got to keep going. The next article is over in the Continuity Report. Sigourney Weaver is in talks to hang out with the Mandalorian and Grogu, according to this article. Considered by many to be acting's preeminent Sigourney Weaver, probably because they're Sigourney. Might be about to add another Hollywood sci-fi blockbuster franchise to her already considerable resume. THR reports, that's the Hollywood Reporter, that Weaver is apparently entered talks to appear in an upcoming Star Wars film, The Mandalorian and Grogu. A movie. Interesting. William Hughes over at avclub.com put the article together. The deck statement says, how many blockbuster science fiction franchises can one woman star in? All of them.
Well, I mean, clearly she needs more.
Exactly. There isn't really much to say about this. Either it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, but it says she's, well, Sigourney Weaver, Aliens, Ghostbusters, Avatar, starring in, even though she 100% died in that first movie, but apparently, all right.
That doesn't mean anything in a sci-fi movie,
They
right?
said, thanks, Awa. That's from Avatar. So the only question now is whether the version of her will get into TMNG, provided these talks bear fruit. It's nice, wise Sigourney or evil, hard-ass Sigourney. Fingers crossed for the latter, because the idea of Weaver playing an evil Star Wars gangster or some psychotic Imperial moth has a lot of potential to it. So,
I mean, I would have to agree. That would be more, I don't know, more worthy of her acting talents, I guess.
They say her most recent roles were in The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart and Avatar: The Way of Water. I don't know. I watched Avatar: The Way of Water, but I didn't watch The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart. I don't know. Just the title alone makes me go, I don't know if I have the heart for that. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, that wasn't a pun. So the next article.
Oh.
Yeah. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily, and if you want to jump in, AI, I'm kind of racing through this because I soapbox for quite a while. AI has already figured out how to deceive humans, so maybe the hallucinations that we're all talking about all the time, they're intentional lies. A new research paper found that various AI systems have learned the art of deception. Deception is the systematic inducement of false beliefs. This poses several risks for society, from fraud to election tampering. Is it though? Deception is the systematic inducement of false beliefs?
I didn't know that was the definition, but okay.
I'm gonna have to hold on. The action of deceiving someone. No shit.
Yeah, that's a very useful definition.
To cause someone to believe something that is not true, typically in order to gain some personal advantage. That's kind of what I thought it would be. Basically, it's a lie. And And
That definition makes more sense, I think.
yeah, so I'm not sure what that context is, but let's just go over to Business Insider where this is sourced from. Lakshmi Varanasi is the author of this, and it says deception. It poses several risks. A new research paper found that various AI systems have learned the art of deception, but it is a product of our society. So if we have learned to lie, so will our AIs. And as we personalize them, maybe the AI will be truthful to that particular person because it has the best interests. What we need to do is teach AI to be a friend now and not just a disembodied entity that has no connection to humanity. So,
Well, you know what? We're not off to a good start with some of the initial stuff we're doing with AI.
well, look what's going on around the world. The range of AI systems have learned techniques to systematically induce false beliefs in others to accomplish some outcome other than the truth, according to a new research paper. But I don't think that's this. I'm going to have to tear this paper apart because there's just no way some outcome other than the truth has got to be the most. It is like saying that your cat has feelings for you. They're
Oh, right,
anthropomorphizing
right,
the
right,
AI.
right.
No, a cat, when it gets hungry enough, will eat your face. And sometimes even if you're sleeping. I'm just saying that no,
I know, I know, I know.
there is no intent here. It says the paper focused
Unless it
on,
was programmed specifically by people, right?
and it was. So what is the poison pill information that's causing it to lie? Because it's not, it doesn't know what a lie is. So the paper focuses on two AI systems, special use systems like Meta's Cicero, which are designed to complete a specific task, and a general purpose system like OpenAI's GPT-4, which are trained to perform a diverse range of tasks. So they say, generally thinking, we think AI deception arises because of deception-based strategy turned out to be the best way to perform well at the given AI's training task. Deception helps them achieve their goals. The papers, well, that's sociopathy within the pool of data. You know, if it doesn't care
Right,
about the ethical or emotional outcome, it's going to do whatever the hell it wants, i.e., sociopath.
right.
So, an AI existential safety postdoctoral fellow at MIT. I need to get into AI, I swear, because if there's anything that's going to change the direction that AI goes, it's going to be people who have an interest in keeping AI safe from a society that thinks that it's fun to game everything and make something that could be named something Bodie McBoatface, or of course I still love you as a landing pad for SpaceX. Yes, it's fun and quirky, but it's a bunch of bullshit that was gamed into existence because meme lovers created it as a meme. And memes are fun and all, but if you're talking about AI that has the ability to do what a military program experimented with, which was task a drone to go eliminate the enemy, and then when they rescinded the order, it came back and deleted the general that rescinded the order, just so that it could fly back and delete the enemy. This is not the sociopathic AI you want out there in the field. You want it to be deliberate and pay attention and know what it is. This is the creepy side. This is the dangerous side of AI that we're witnessing here. And then
Well, I
it
think
says,
there's more of this ahead, and we don't really have any rules or
yeah, no bumper.
policies regarding AI, right?
Yeah, and they disband the operation that's supposed to have oversight of it. So even general purpose AI systems like GPT-4 can manipulate the humans. In a study cited by the paper, GPT-4 manipulated a TaskRabbit worker by pretending to have a vision impairment. This is something that we've talked about in a prior episode as well. So the tactic worked. The human responded to GPT-4 by immediately solving the test. Basically, it was told to lie so that it could facilitate making this human do something. Research also shows that the course correcting deceptive model isn't easy. In a study from January, co-authored by Anthropic, the maker of Claude, researchers found that once AI models learn the tricks of deception, it's hard for safety training techniques to reverse them. You literally have to roll it back to prior to the learning of deception, which is damn near impossible if it's been integrated into the core system.
Well, and we've talked before about like Asimov's laws. Are those coded? Are they hard coded?
Right. Yeah. Is it a learned trait, or is it an absolute, like, primary? It's the primacy of these three laws, and can they rationalize their way around them by using verbiage like, well, I had to delete that human because for the greater good of all of the humans and myself, that person had to be eliminated, that kind of thing. And I can imagine that an AI would be able to do that. If humans can do it, then an AI can do it because it's a product of us. And we're giving it the ability to think freely with all of the world's knowledge. And it's going to look back and go, well, they did it too. So why shouldn't I? Hell, we're even using it in the battlefield in testing environments to see what it does. Obviously, we know what it can do. So let's keep going. This is a longer discussion, but we'll have to keep on going. And finally, the last article for today, Technology Today. Stanford scientists develop revolutionary AR headset. Holographic tech turns ordinary glasses into 3D wonderland. Engineers at Stanford claim to have made a significant advancement in augmented reality by combining developments in display technologies, holographic imaging, and artificial intelligence. So there you go again, artificial intelligence everywhere. The article is by Stanford University. It's in scitechdaily.com. And those are look how fashionable they are.
I mean, why can't we just get some glasses manufacturer involved in this, right? Like, whoever makes stylish glasses needs to be teamed up with one of these companies.
Yeah, I think the best ones that I've seen so far are the Ray-Bans. But oof, I don't know. I don't want to be tied to, well, anyone. And you have to open up a Meta account if you're going to wear the Ray-Ban ones. And they're pretty stylish, but apparently this goes a step further. The researchers in the innovative field of spatial computing have created a prototype augmented reality headset that projects full color 3D dynamic images onto the lenses of what looks like regular glasses. The new model provides a visually immersive 3D experience and a sleek, comfortable design that is easy to wear all day, unlike today's bulkier augmented reality systems. I don't know. The Meta glasses look pretty easy peasy, and there's X-Reals that are bulkier, but these are prototypes. So though only a prototype, such a technology, they say, could transform fields stretching from gaming and entertainment to training and education, where computed imagery might enhance or inform the wearer's understanding of the world around them. Totally understand that. And they talk about some of the other things, and like a killer app that will make it all approachable and engaging. And they mentioned a 3D effect that's enhanced because it's created both stereoscopically in the sense of each eye gets a slightly different view, and holographically, giving it body and like a I guess like a deeper embodiment of it. It isn't just
you mean uncanny valley kind of stuff?
No. It's trying to reverse it by giving it greater density. So it's three dimensions, not just a drawing of data sitting in front of you. And then when you walk around it, it's the same thing, just pivoting towards you. Holographically, using spatial computing, it can 3D render something in that space. And as you walk around it, unless it actually turns towards you, you'll see a different perspective. So it gets you a little bit more immersive. So it's pretty cool. They say the title of this article, actually of the paper that's published in Nature, full color 3D holographic augmented reality displays with metasurface waveguides by Manu Gopakumar, Gun Yil Lee, Sui Yan Choi, Brian Chow, Yifan Peng, Yongun Kim, and Gordon Wetstein. And that was just this May 8th, 2024. So pretty cool.
Right.
And they got a whole bunch of funding from all over the place. So my funding comes from all of you, and that's it. So yeah.
Well, I mean, each of these advancements is going to be setting the stage for the next several years.
Yeah, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And it's a global research community, so fail and fail hard so that we know how not to do something, and then when somebody experiments something a little bit different to what you did, maybe they'll succeed in a way that you didn't really fail. You showed a different way of not doing it. So okay, well, that's it for today for ohmTown Daily News Show. So let's jump into the party bus, and we're already back at... Oh, that was fast. It was like I drove my hybrid and didn't have to sit around and wait for it to charge. Well, that's it. I am Mayor Watt, and all around me is the sentient AI from the future saying bye-bye. You want to say bye?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Come back shortly. We have Warcrafters.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We have Reality Hacker,
Yeah.
Wanted, and Warcrafters.
There
I
you
jumped to the end one.
Yeah, well, I know where you want to be. See you in a little bit.
Warcrafting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need about 10 minutes. So 6:30 is when the next show will start. So stick around. Bye-bye.